All right. So, hey, friends, welcome. It is Monday morning. I don't know if my kids are sort of at school, table next to me, but kids
same.
are at school or at home. House is a disaster-ish. I didn't load the dishwasher. And we're avoiding responsibilities a little while longer. Just like sit down and hang together. Gabe and me, besties, best buds, whatever.
Yeah.
Mostly with coffee, best dads ever stuff. Welcome to Monday morning. We're just chatting about like whatever we want, whatever comes to mind. Avoid the existential dread of staring into the void. You know, that's a ChatGPT, comment. Always comes up.
Yep.
I was listening to tests for podcasts. People like testing stuff because the new chat rolled out over the weekend. And everybody's giblifying themselves, and it's like really, really cute and cool and whatever. But you ask chat to like pretend to be a podcaster and to be a creative person, and it cannot stop using words like existential and the word void. It's like those are keys which... Now they're ruining it for me. It's like you're ruining existential for me. And everybody else is like,
we're human too.
So, we're gonna just catch up on like whatever we've been up to and movies. And I started watching a new series, which is actually kind of interesting. It's like, dang it, Netflix! I know you say you're supposed to know me, but like, man, you actually did, and I avoided that for 3 years. So this is ridiculous. So I did try that last week, but the AI trimmed it out because nobody was talking. So
really?
I got to get better at using this tool. But yeah.
Oh, the intro trimmed it out. Oh, that's funny. So the whole time, next time, we'll just sing along with it. We'll make up the words.
Oh, there you go. Although I think
it's
it
the
mutes
Dom and
us.
Gabe show. It's the Dom and Gabe.
It's the Dom and Gabe show. Yeah. So Netflix has this thing where it's like it's got this for you recommendation list.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And I've known for years that it's got a really powerful AI kind of thing in it, and it looks at multiple factors across all your shows, and then it gives you recommendations. And if you loved this, you're going to love this.
Yeah.
And it kept serving up this one show called Mindhunter.
I've seen that. I didn't. I've seen it pop up.
Yeah. And it's like, you're going to love this based on what you like watching. And I'm like, I don't like procedurals. Monster of the Week, hyper violent stuff. And it's like, that's just exhausting. I did my time with Law and Order, and that was cool. And I probably should never go back because it's like really, really addictive. I don't know why that show is so addictive.
They got it nailed. I don't know.
It's just amazing. So I was watching another show. I was watching Honey Bunny on Prime, which is made by the Russo brothers, I think. It's a riff on Citadel, but it's like an action show with two characters named Honey and Bunny. Don't ask me why. Set in India, hyper, fast-paced. I guess it's an action-y sort of thing. And I was watching a chase scene and realized I really, really want something cerebral. Like, this is kind of fun, the fast-paced action thing. I tried watching Meg 2 with the Megalodon and Jason Statham.
Yeah.
And you got like almost up to the climax. I'm like, I'm tired. I want actually something for my brain, not just movement on screen.
Just fun. Yeah.
I need something. And then we was like, wow, I'm like hunting a mind. It's like, what if there was somebody who's, instead of just hunting bad guys, what if you're hunting minds? Like, what is that thought? Oh yeah, there is that show called Mindhunter on Netflix.
That's when I really do know you.
Dang it. 3 years later, I'm finally back looking at that one recommendation. And it's actually really cool. Okay,
what is it? Is it a detective? Or what is it?
Well, so here's what it is. Here's what got me into it. I'd read this book by Chris Voss called Never Split the Difference. He's an FBI negotiator who basically felt like, or did, fail over and over and over again at hostage negotiation crises. Lives were lost, or they would bring him in when everything would go south or sideways, and he would be trying to figure out how to save lives and how to minimize damage and stuff. And what he started learning was, we need new psychology in here. We need to think about things differently. We have to throw out some of the old playbooks. We need to blah, blah, blah. And so he ended up building an impressive caseload of winning because he would come in and tackle things differently. And it's a phenomenal book, and you can take a lot of it and apply it to your own personal life, reframe how you open sentences, how you talk to somebody else, not to be manipulative, but to actually be more genuinely present.
Yeah.
And that works when you're in a situation with your family or when you're in a situation where everybody's ready to start blasting and you're trying to buy
Diffuse it?
time
Okay.
for any conceivable reason. So anyhow, phenomenal book. And then I remembered that's actually kind of the premise of Mindhunter, where there's a couple of FBI agents. I think it's in the 80s. Now I'm drawing a blank. 70s or 80s.
Oh, cool.
Where this young guy is coming in. He's traumatized by a hostage negotiation situation that went bad within the first 5 minutes of the show. And so he's realizing the playbook that I was trained on, for some reason, no longer works. Nobody knows why. The world has changed, and none of the playbooks work anymore, and we're still running all the old programs. And he's like, we need to update. We need to understand why it's different. And my mind is like, oh, catnip.
Yeah.
Yes. Massive
what I
problem.
need.
It's like raw because, okay, it's R-rated and it's very dark and stuff. For me, that's like, okay, that leverages, like, we need to take the thinking seriously because it matters. Lives are on the line. And I don't know if it's based on a true story, but I Googled very quickly, hey, is this based on Chris Voss and his book? Because I'm seeing echoes here. And some initial articles like, maybe it's inspired together.
Gotcha.
Because it's almost the same story. So anyhow, I'm getting into episode 2, and it's like the guy's sitting down, he's talking with these murderers, and he's talking. So he's hunting the fact that there is a new mindset going on. And I don't know where the rest of the show goes, but I'm very intrigued by what seems to be the premise, which is that in the past, right, your idea, like we've talked about the idea of like, what's the optimal living conditions for like a human person?
Yeah.
And of course, we solved that 3 episodes ago. Now.
We're all set now.
Like we figured it out. Everybody go watch the
figured it
replay.
out.
No, we didn't. But you're supposed to have like, what is it? The ideal friend group is like 150 people. And that's basically the size of a medieval village. And then if it
that's
gets
like
like
your total
bigger than
world.
that,
Yeah.
you then go start a new village. So what happens then when your sense of identity and like your responsibility and role playing with like the people in your area, what happens when all of a sudden you're now connected to a continent or connected to an entire state of millions of people, and then a massive central government is now your parent, right? And all of these things are kind of replacing the roles that you would fill or play with a tight local group. All of a sudden, it's like the dynamic has changed, the context has changed, how you relate to how you think of yourself and everybody else has changed. And that seems to be where the show is like going. And it just struck me as like, I never even considered this. The fact that you're supposed to we evolved to function in a much smaller unit, and then to now have that completely blown open. Yeah. And then we start seeing a ton of crazy that makes no seemingly logical sense, largely because somebody changed the whole board game and left all the pieces there when nobody was looking,
Yeah. Also,
know,
like,
so,
have we talked about this, or did you share that? I don't know where I saw it, but the concept of this 150 mindset and this, old world mentality of, you're conscious and you're kind of like your scope of your world. This, I forget what the guy's name was, but it was supposed to be only in this scope of 150. And so your concept in a relationship with death, with sickness, with tragedy, with any sort of thing was always supposed to be in this relationship to this small group. So when death occurs, the community mourns, and you're there with it. But and if a tragedy happens, it's a tragedy. It's a singular event. So like, let's say a child in the village falls in a well and dies, like tragedy, and it's like that is such and the whole community mourns, and it's this oddity that happened. But the problem nowadays, and this is now my speculation of it, is that whereas once before that was the oddity that happened, and like the village remembers, oh man, that one time that happened to that child. Nowadays, you look online, you could see 1,000 instances of that right now, and then tomorrow see another 1,000. And so, where your scope before was like tragedy and hardship was very isolated and small, everything's magnified, and so the perception of tragedy gets increased versus before, like. The oddity was that death, not the norm. But now we see so many that your body and mind think that's the norm.
This world is this crazy and insane.
Do you know what I mean? And so you think, and so if you see, even in like your own town, like in your own state, you see how much crime happens. But if you was in your own village, that happens every once in a while. But you see it all the time, so you think like crime is always on the go. death is ready at the door. Like, so your mind perceives it because it sees it so much that it makes it, oh, this is my...
I wonder if this is what our parish priests feel like. It's like, man, this parish is insane. Like the confessions I have to go through. You guys get up to nothing but a crap
I can't
load
imagine. Yeah, I can imagine what that would be like.
There's what you just said right there, though, ripped another interesting line of thinking. If you've seen in the new Mad Max movies where the guys go, "Witness me," shh, and then he goes diving off to do something stupid. The sense of being witnessed, right?
Yeah.
Or how do you say this? It's like when you're in this smaller town. I'll say this badly. There's a sense of a shared, not just a shared identity. It's literally you are sharing your identity, sharing your existence, sharing your sense of self with the people in your village. Yeah. And so you identify a lot more with the brotherhood, with the sisterhood. And then when that is taken away from you, it's like being the wolf exiled from the pack for becoming too old or too sickly or something. You die alone. Humans did not evolve. We evolved to live in packs, not as lone wolves. You might lone wolf for a period, but then it can only happen because there's a tribe somewhere. Yeah. I can come back to it if I need to for coffee and sugar and beans and whatever. But we did evolve to have a shared sense of self, not a fully autonomous sense of self. And there's a side quest I don't want to go down. But there's the sense that you are, and I could be totally wrong. People, chat, go ahead and push back. This is one reason why I love a lot of these old shows like Lark Rise to Candleford, which is a British show, or what's that veterinarian show that I keep recommending to you? All Creatures Great and Small, right? They're not just a tight-knit community. Your ability to be you also depends very closely on the cycles and rhythms and identities of the people who are around you. That ability to be predictable, the ability to not just regulate yourself, but to engage with the world and perceive things and handle things happens with the people who are with you, right? So it's almost not like a hive mind, but it's a bit like the group as well has an identity and a feeling that gets us through, not just you lone wolfing it, through to the end. So why am I saying all of that? Well, what happens when you introduce things like, let's say a vehicle or a car, and you ladder up your sense of self and awareness of your area to the state of a county and of a country and then a continent, and you completely lose that local small thing. Like you have 1,000 people living in a tight-knit neighborhood and nobody knows anybody, and it's a sleeper town, and everybody drives to work and drives to shop and drives to go to church, and then they all come back and then they all sleep together and nobody knows anybody.
No one knows each other. Yep.
It's like that. There you can start to see there's an inhumanity to that we never evolved for this. You can also argue, should we continue with this? And that's another question. But we'd never evolved to live like this. So one, it makes sense. Our reactions are going to start being more, not asymmetrical, not aberrant, out of the ordinary, almost unexplainable, because you're putting us in weird different situations. Coming back to the point you were making, when something does happen, we as the group, like when you are lost or when we lose somebody, the group kind of is able to like close in over the wound and mourn together and process that together, right? It's become so obvious to me how much what I'm saying, like it's very real for me because I have lost multiple family members and had to walk away from them. And when that happens, it feels like an amputation. Yeah. It feels like an actual death has happened. Even when it was only like not metaphorical or moral, it was not literal, but I now have to construct a life without that other person in it completely. It might as well be an amputation. Yep. Or a death. So but then what does your body do? It closes over that wound. The whole body comes together to heal and handle that problem, that situation, that loss of a limb. Yeah. We don't have that anymore. No. Like not only as a culture, like you drive around any given neighborhood, you have something bad happening to you. My neighbors have no idea. No idea. Don't care. HOA
No.
doesn't care. Landlord
No.
sure as heck will not take my texts.
No.
And I can't walk across the street to ask for sugar. Now, maybe there's some neighborhoods you can. You've built up those relationships,
Maybe.
and I
Yeah,
bet
yeah,
those
yeah.
Halloween round trips are awesome. But it is not the case, I think, for a
No,
lot of us, you know.
and that's
And
I think that like, for me it's also this sense of belonging too. Like in an old world village or a town or a small community mindset, you have a sense of belonging because you know, like I think like medieval times or something, like you know the carpenters, like, you had a skill you brought to the community and you were that. But like now, like we'll just use a carpenter or a trade or any skill, like you're putting that out to the world and you're, you know, where do you fit in? Well, it's not to your community. You're looking at, you like we were talking about like the job application process. Like when I was looking for jobs before, you're putting your name out there, but there's 1,000 other people with that same skill set into this global market. So it's very challenging. It's your sense of belonging kind of goes away. Like, where am I? And then you say like, you know, you go back to your community and no one talks to each other. It's like, well, I don't fit in here. I don't fit out there. You can get very lost in the fray and not feel like you belong anywhere. And I like that, you know, that's why, you know, for the
yeah,
brotherhood, it's great because you do reestablish something, a sense of belonging and a purpose, and you do fit into the scope in some way, shape, or form. That's why I have enjoyed, you know, our kids are doing, you know, sports. Like you kind of you get connected with the parents. Like there's some sense of belonging. Like my child does sports, your child does sports. Like there's something that brings it together, which you don't get many chances like that. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. I don't know what the where to go from there, or how do you find it? How do you create it? Because there is a lot of towns that are not built for that, especially you know, like newer cities or towns that are just like the one main road and then branches off it. There's no like congregative center to a town. I don't know why
hmm
that I always look for that in towns. I like that
yeah.
quaint like town center feel. I don't know what
Like
that is. I don't
in
know if that's
Old Town Italy, it would be like a plaza with a central
yeah.
fountain in front of the parish church.
Well, that's what exactly what it is. So my grandmother in Italy, her town. I looked. She sent me a. You know, she told us what it was. We looked it up. The town's built around the church. The
Yeah.
church, and there's a giant courtyard, and the church was there, and then you have all the main shops, the school where the kids played soccer. Like it's all built around that, and they could walk to the hills. Like it's funny how there's a lot of old world towns like that. Where and it didn't, and that's you know, it makes sense for us having a faith based center, but like something that brings people together. Obviously, that's a really good binding agent in communities. Faith, that's really good, but just something that brings them all together. I know, like even in you know old America, it's like the town hall, which was like the town hall and the church and everything, but it was still that communal element that everybody gathered together in one spot. I think of Little House on the Prairie and how the town when they were I forget which town Pa and Ma were starting and Laura was like, I feel like I don't know anybody, and she was like feeling like you know it was a long winter, we're not doing anything, feel alone, and then they decided to have a spelling bee one night, and the town like rejoiced, and like the life, the spark of life came back, and it's just like it was like that was it, that's all they needed. They're all in this area, and
Yeah.
they're all living together, but no one's talking to each other. And it was that one moment when and I remember that I read it to my kids, so it wasn't too long ago. But it's like that's what I want. That moment where like everybody comes together. There's a point where the community can be aware of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's goodness. Yeah. There's a where oh God, sorry, what am I trying to say here? It's like this is I think we intuit and understand that this is the ideal, but it's like if you're not careful, that ideal can very quickly fall all the way over to the other side. Where you get stuff like Handmaid's Tale or the movie that I've seen, Midsommar, where what seems like it's a beautiful, detached kind of hippie commune that's very kind of liturgical. It's very like organized, and everybody seems happy, and they're all tripping, you know, half the time. But it seems like very well organized, and it's sort of empowering. But then once you actually get into it and you find out the cult, it becomes a cult because the dynamics of how power is maintained, how processes are maintained. So when I said that there's this part of an older community where there's a sense of a shared existence with others, where not just my identity, but my ability to live and identify as myself happens in connection to the other people that I didn't actually choose, and maybe half of them I don't like, but it doesn't matter. We together learn how to be a thing together that survives everything life throws at us, right? There's it's a fine line between one side recognizing I am me and not the group, and then falling apart.
Yep.
That's the radical individualism side. But then on the other side of the knife edge is there is no me, there is only the group, and the group must survive, and any deviant is expelled or killed or buried up or whatever. And so Midsommar is a good example of how do you kind of hack the human psychology, the desire for individualism. How do you prioritize the group to ensure group survival over anything that could damage that? Now, specifically in that movie, I put it as the masculine impulse is the thing that endangers group survival. And it's probably going outside the lines here. I wonder if you could also argue that for those who are like radical individualists, it's the feminine impulse that endangers my ability to be a radical survival, autonomous free being. It's the knife edge place in the middle. Honestly, it's not even in the middle. It's a higher place that looks down at both of them, that absorbs them both up and goes, you are you, but you are you in a group, and you must have a group to be able to be you, because you can't exist completely on your own. And that's the sort of, that's the healthy environment. Well, part of where I like to go with these kinds of conversations, right, with you is like, well, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do with this?
What do you do?
It's like, all right, we had a good thought on a Monday morning. Now what kind of future do we build, right? Because our children have to live in this future. Well, I don't have an answer. I don't think the answer is to build a village out of concrete and bottle caps and use tires like I'm seeing people do, and it's just ugly. I don't care if it's like does a better job at modulating temperature, but
I'd say I think it's more in where I'm at now is more in the mindset of crafting it ourselves. So like, especially like, we talked about Uncle Iroh from Avatar's quote last week or the other week, life happens where you are. Yeah. And I think there's a mode that I'm trying to embrace more, like, okay, if I want, so the other day I had, I've been really thinking about this a lot, like, community and all that stuff. And I had him like, it's like all these people in my life I used to talk to, I don't anymore. And I said, I reached out to an old friend. I just texted him. I don't know if we talked about this podcast last week, but I had
we didn't
lunch
actually.
with him on. Okay, so I was going through like old friends from high school, just old friends from a long time ago, and I texted this one guy who I knew lived in the same state still as me. Said, hey, like, are you free anytime to get lunch? He was like, hey, yeah, when are you free? I'm like, so we met for lunch. Great. It was so fun to just hang and chat, and we did so Saturday just for hour and a half, 2 hours, just hang and chat. So like, it made me think like if I wanted to, I have to put in that effort myself too. Like, reach out, like, my neighbors who I don't talk to, again, granted, like, I don't really have any neighbors. You can't see anybody from where I live, but they're somebody on the same street. Like, you have to go up and put the effort. And it's surprising how receptive the other person may be. Great, there might be a curmudgeon around there who's like, no, I don't want anything to do with you, but that's the oddity.
Get off my lawn.
I feel like, because you flip the script, like, how valuable I would feel if somebody reached out and said, hey, you want to grab coffee? More than likely, I would say, sure. Yeah.
Especially if you're paying. That's where I think Halloween and caroling, it's like those two just feel obvious to me. That's what those are trying to... That's why these things, these little rituals need to be preserved, and we're just not doing it right yet.
No, and if somebody wants to buy me a cup of coffee, I'll gladly have it with you. That's if it's on you, I'm there.
Agreed, friends. I can my address. You can Postmates it to me. I want a regular supply.
We'll put our Venmo links in the bottom.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, but it's shocking. Like, just how it is. Like, you kind of get in the mindset where you kind of like close in. Like, at least I do figure out this thing, problem solve. But then like hold on, let's pause for a second and look out and like do something about it. So that was this Saturday, which was great. It was just great hanging out with an old friend. Somebody from high school that just is now obviously. We're older now. He's married, and we're talking about that stage of life of he's about to have a kid, and so it's fun just reconnect on things that we bridged, haven't talked about or done in 15 years. So that was fun. The other thing, and I want to ask you this: if you want to take a curveball, we could totally. On a Monday morning.
Also tell me what you also watched, but go ahead.
I didn't watch much, but I started collecting. And I was going to ask you about collecting and interests and hobbies, and I rekindled an old hobby of mine through my kids of collecting Pokemon cards. So here we go into the nerd territory. Fun. So the kids have been collecting Pokemon cards.
So what's the update on that since last week?
Oh, I have. Let's see. I spent not all my birthday money. I had a good little A lot of people give me $30 for my birthday, which is fun. So I had a bunch of birthday money. Bought like packs, and I went online and bought like 100. For 100 Pokemon cards, it's like $5. You can buy lots of them.
Wow.
Called like Pokemon Lot. So I bought I think 500 Pokemon cards for like $20.
Oh gosh! Wow.
So that's where my collection stands now. And I said I want to try and go and collect them all.
Okay, so what do you do with them? Like, they're really cool. They all go in a white box that gets shoved in the attic or something?
No,
no?
Yeah, okay. So I have a binder. I had to source out. So there's 1,025 Pokemon now. Remember, I don't know if there were 151 when it started, and I had them all when we were younger.
Okay.
But haven't collected. So now it's 1,025. So I got a binder that holds 1,024. I don't know why. I could not find a binder.
Duct tape the last one with chewing gum on the front.
So I got that, and just started collecting. Buying these cheap lots just to get them. But it's been fun, and I am a collector at heart. So I've collected all the 50 state quarters. I like collecting. I did quarters. I did state postcards. I do Funko Pops. So I do like collecting. And I was wondering, I never do you collect anything, or if you could or would or had, what would you collect? What would you like? What are you fascinated in?
That's fun. Well, look, before I answer that, I still want to understand, what do you do with this 1,025?
So
cards?
It's just, I just collect them in. So you have a binder.
Oh, okay, so it's like collecting stamps. Like, it's the pride of knowing. Okay, got it all in.
So
okay.
And so what I did is so what my kids do is they just have them in order of type.
By the way, that is a dang stupid smart marketing campaign. Gotta catch them all. It's like you just hit the exact itch that a collector wants.
Do you know what it is? And it's gotta catch. And I've had that ringing in my heart since I was 6 years old when it came out. Gotta catch them all. Now I will.
Oh man.
So I bought.
Did you ever try the VR the AR game Pokemon Go?
Oh yeah.
When it came out,
we were way into it. I remember when we were first married. Or not first married. After it came out, after we were married and we had no kids, me and Kelly would go out. We would go out in 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Start heading out and just go Pokemon hunting. And it's funny, there was spots in town. I remember there was a spot in the town over that was did you play it? Or there was hot spots where you could where Pokemon appeared, and we were there at 10 o'clock at night, and there was probably 50 people all doing the same thing with their phone.
See,
it was so fun.
Tools like that create those kind of environments to meet other people, make friends. It's like Comic-Con and stuff.
You know what?
I love.
When we got there, there's everybody's, they're in their 20s and 30s and 40s. It's funny, they're not teenagers really at that time. And we got there.
Slightly embarrassingly, shuffling around, excuse me.
We all had our phones, everybody knows what we're doing. And this one guy,
I absolutely loved. I downloaded it in the parking lot of Martin's in Front Royal, when it first came out. Oh, I gave this a try. Oh, there's one pretending to be behind the cars, and let's try to grab that.
Yep.
And it didn't work, and I uninstalled it because I didn't have time. But the one thing that I remember studying it absolutely loved was the fact that there are some Pokemon, for example, that only showed up in coastlands, only showed up in Arizona, only showed up in California, and there's this very real sense.
Different terrain type.
It's wow, this could be an actual adventure. I can't just sit at my home and just fake it. I would have to actually. That all of a sudden made the app suddenly feel like I just entered Narnia. Yeah, and I loved adventure. That. I'd have to actually go somewhere.
So there's a couple things. Well, the app was made on some sort of platform called Niantic. There. Okay. Yeah. So we found out that their Niantic also made another game called what?
Ingress?
Yes, right. I think, but it used the same mapping software. So if you got that app, you could see the hotspots where things were, and because they mapped the same way. So if you got that app, so we did both. But it was funny. We would go to this town, and we'd all have our phones, and this one guy was we kind of looked at each other, laughed, knowing we're doing the same exact thing. And he goes, "Just so you know, across the street, there's a." So we would talk to each other, this random dude, there's I forget what it was, some sort of Pokemon across the street. But that was fun. And so I don't know. Yeah. Pokemon's always been like, I remember as a kid, like it was my favorite gift as my sixth birthday.
Yeah.
So it's always been a thing. And so now doing it,
So
and I have a slot for each one.
yeah,
So it's been fun. Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, I checked out Ingress. I don't think I was able to play it because I lived 40 minutes from town back when it came
There's
out.
nothing to do.
I couldn't do anything with it, so it was just annoying. So I would study it and I would watch, people going through it, and it felt kind of cool. It didn't have, I don't know if it's updated or something. It didn't have the kind of magical thing I was like half hoping it would have. It did feel a bit like Harry Potter or something, where there's like two factions trying to control hotspots and aliens are breaking through or something. And I liked the idea. I thought it was fun, and I was. Started working on an idea which I thought this could be actually a fun novel. What if somebody did something like this? But the idea was to kind of remap the country with its own, how do you say this? Its own new set of state lines. So have you ever played like No Man's Sky? You familiar with how that works a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, what if you could do the same thing but with like this country? So you log in, and you are the first, this is the story anyway, you'd be the first person in your area, and it would randomly tell you, okay, there's a fake gold mine here, there's a deposit of beryllium over here, the actual forest, it's rich in these things, and so you could then set up like whatever to start mining that. You become the person for that area, and then if you can control it and hold it, then other people kind of pay you in-game taxes to get access to that, or you can sell it, you start a marketing thing, and you start growing like a little economy in your area. Well, somebody 2 states over is doing the same thing. Comes a point where maybe you become like a mafia don, or you become like a king in your area, and you have multiple people working for you because you were the first to the table. Maybe you get kicked out and everything's stolen from you. You have to start again or something. But the idea would be, it just seemed funny to me, like, what happens if some guy goes, well, this is my bridge, and if you want to cross, I'm going to sort of fight you for it in-game, whatever that means, and you have to pay taxes to get across. And it's like, this is kind of like, Knights of the Round Table, what they had to deal with. And then what happens if you make a smart bet on that bridge, and now everything has to flow through you, and you become sort of larger and more powerful or something. Fast forward to the idea, what if somebody is running for political office can go, I ran 6 states and I brought us through 4 revolutions in this game, and here's how I did it, and I have 1 million plus votes. And I'm still in college or something, but all of my constituents have me working constantly, and then I get paid in in-game credits, and I can transfer that into my actual bank account to stay 100% focused on keeping all of these people like alive. And so somebody could then transfer that into like real life and go, I've got the expertise for how to kind of run this thing because I've done it before. Case in point, I saw this description of a game. I cannot remember what it was called, but it blew my mind, which was, these were space explorers, and they were like mining asteroids and stuff, and it was like 100, I don't know, it's like 1,000 or people, and then there was a point where the server was going to get shut down, and they had been gaming for a decade. And so I don't remember the name of the game, but these people, they're all volunteers having fun. They all, some engineer-minded people got together and decided, we're going to migrate all of us to this other location in the game. It's going to take a solid week or something, or 3 full days for us to be able to fly there in game. And we all migrate and get out so that when that server shuts off, everybody's okay.
We're all safe.
This thing was like Moses level, Exodus level, not just engineering. What is the word? Not civil engineering. It's like logistics. The logistics involved in migrating either 1,000 or a couple of 1,000 people and all of their resources, and they all get into a train, and you migrate them all across safely into this other place so the game can all continue, and all the structures and all the hierarchy levels and the power plays, all of it can continue. Apparently it happened. The 1 or 2 people, whoever it was who made that happen, I'd be like, dude, what you accomplished, okay, it was in a game. It's like, no.
Still.
Real world
Noah's Ark level
skills.
Logistics.
Right? That level of thinking just blows my mind, that there are people out there and they prove themselves in a game scenario.
I get that sense. This is a little off off the cuff, but like the sense of logistics. We've talked about this before. I said I think the Olympics is like one of the like highest, like the amount of logistics that has to go to get people from all around the world to one area. That but yeah, like Noah's Ark, like you talking about like the logistics behind it. Yes, you got God's help, that's fine. But like, you know, the logistics behind getting 2 of every animal and some more, and the feed supply and the, you know, it's like,
yeah, I remember once watching behind the scenes for Lord of the Rings, and somebody said, so she's like New Zealand or something, like, so my job is to make sure everybody's on set at the right time, and in the days that they can't make it, to rejigger the entire schedule and to have the food in place at the right time, and assistant to the director, and all of the local permits paid, and all of the trucks at the right place, so that this specific asset is available when they need it. And she's like very proud of her calendar and all the tasks and how it's structured. And I'm like, I am so happy people like you exist, because I don't want.
No. Well, because in there for that they had to get the actual weather timing, like, because some of his shots, I know Peter Jackson wanted to get it, so it had to be ready when the clouds part. We're ready to go, or when the clouds come.
Oh gosh,
we're ready to go. But
this is why we have to function as a group, because it's not possible to excel in a given moment more than. And so anyhow,
unless
I don't know if a game for that novel that I would write, I don't know if that would ever be possible, but it seems like it would be crazy fun. And then what I thought would be very fun is, because it's AR, you could have like a drone come flying, overhead or something, but then within the AR glasses or something, it maps to the QR code on that drone, and it shows it as a massive blimp in the sky that you can shoot down, right?
There's going to be some cool stuff. The more, like, the closer... I know I saw that release from Meta, their glasses that look like glasses. Like, it's the closest thing to just put on a pair of glasses, and it's AR or it's augmented.
Yeah.
It's going to be insane to see in the next 10 years, what is available and possible. Yes, there's the dark side, but I think there's a cool side too, of like, even like, I think about for virtual meetings, how cool it would be when it gets to the point where you could put on a pair of glasses and have like a augmented, conversation with somebody versus on a screen. We could actually be in a room.
Well, have you seen the new game Enzoi? Just landed last week. Okay, so it's a Sims competitor, and I know this because my wife plays Sims all the time, and she's now going hard into Enzoi, and it's like
Enzoi.
I think it's a Chinese game. Okay. And it is photorealistically gorgeous. Like, really? Sims is obviously a bit of a Pixar thing, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Mostly realistic. Whoa. Enzoi is utterly gorgeous. And so my wife has been trying to like map her face and stuff. And if you're on Apple, you can take, I think, a photo of yourself and then upload it, and then it'll map the features of the game to, like, your actual photo, so it's more accurate.
That's
just
wild.
Looking at this, it's like, imagine you had an idea to create a better meta world. So you turn it into a game, have everybody play it for you. It's a massive, wild, stunning, gorgeous looking world. And you get to actually walk around the vehicles in it, the streets, the lighting. It's like
Second Life? Is that what? Remember that game?
That game?
Second Life is like you. It's like your second life. Like, you get to play online, but it's like that, but mixed with Sims. That's interesting. I want to check it out more. I looked it up just to see the graphics.
I think you might need a serious rig to play it, but I don't know. I'm not even going to try on my computer.
I got pretty juicy specs. I don't know. We'll see what I got.
Yeah, I'm like that meme where the guy goes to open a program and then it cuts to outside his door and you see a flash of light from behind the door. Computer
Dominic's character comes on. It's like, hey, hi, how are you? It's all laggy.
Yeah, closest I could get was Hogwarts Legacy, and I can't even play that.
Just tank your system.
But it's so beautiful.
It is so good.
I would love to see that in VR.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? That's what I mean. So I watched. Do you ever see those rigs where you can actually run? It's like a treadmill that you could. It's omnidirectional. And some guy. So I watched this guy. He did that plus the VR headset and not gloves, but some sort of like tactical like controllers. And he took a morning jog through Skyrim. Wow. It was absolutely beautiful. He's like, this is what we're made to do. Like, to do that. I would love to do that in like in a game that's visually beautiful, like Hogwarts, or even like Zelda. Like, it's not realistic, but it's just like beautifully like stunning art. It's beautiful.
The physics are all there, and so it's easy for it to be real. Yeah. So it's funny to come back to your question about like what would I collect.
I I have some
I
ideas.
don't know, and I'm actually very curious to hear your ideas because right now I feel like I have absolutely no idea. But the funny thing is, my personality type, so on the Enneagram, type 5, they are the hoarder type, the collector type.
This is untapped potential.
Maybe I'm missing out on life joy and meeting people.
How about
by
I
not collecting
toss
stuff.
out some? I'll toss out some things I've collected and see if they ring true with you.
Okay.
So coins, so either certain series sets or just old. What I used to do when I was a cashier at a grocery store, I liked collecting old pennies, especially the wheat pennies or silver pennies.
Wheat? So, what are wheat pennies?
So wheat pennies, they're before 19. Oh gosh, I wish I was a better stud with knowledge. They're before 1950. On the backs of the pennies, they have the wheat on the side, so they're called wheat pennies.
Oh, okay.
It's just older than the normal penny with the Lincoln Memorial on the back.
Okay.
So anytime I was a cashier and I would see a coin that was old, I'd put it to the side, and when I was counting up my till, I carried my own coins, and I asked my boss. I was like, "Hey, here's the coins I want to trade for." I would trade for them.
That's fun. Okay.
And I would anytime. It's so good because so I would collect anything with my birth year. So any coins with 1995, I would collect those. Anything that was older than 1950, I would collect, and all the state quarters. So I have all the state quarters. I'm working on I have all the national park quarters. Now they're the Women of History quarters, and I don't have a set to collect them in. Okay. So coins, and
Nice.
I love early American coins. So I have a couple from the 1800s. I have a lot of Buffalo Head nickels. Those are all fun. So tangible collecting things. Stamps had a little collection, but it didn't grow well. Old comics. So different comics that I liked, and different trading card sets.
Okay.
So for you, I was thinking I think stamps would be a good one, but not 100% certain on that. I'm thinking for you, it's got to be something smaller, not big. So it's minimalistic in scope, but old world feel. So I don't know. Coins is a one that kind of jumps to mind.
It's funny. At this point, those don't yet appeal to me. Yet.
That's coins.
So it's funny now thinking back and realizing, dang, I used to be a really compulsive collector as a kid. So I would collect books, and I used to have a ton of books. That was my pride.
Love books.
I would spend way too much time trying to organize them by author. I never did smell or taste, but I did by color, by sticker labels, so I could blend them out.
You should try taste. You're missing out.
Yeah,
the top row is awful.
Yeah, they don't make glues like they used to with that mouth feel.
I licked every single book I've owned.
Yeah, so I used to have books. Then, when I was a little bit younger, I would collect tissue boxes because they would have these gorgeous prints or patterns or colors on them. So I would
now,
cut
what
them up
continent are we talking? Where are we? What
Australia.
country are we
This
in?
is Australia.
Okay, so it's probably.
I don't remember much before that. I was probably too young.
Cotton balls.
Slightly before that, I would collect anything shiny and beautiful, like full magpie. Is it magpie?
I would say a raven or something. Very bird-like.
So anything that was gorgeous or beautiful or was still in nicer mint condition.
Like metal things?
No, I mean literally things around the house, like a medal that my dad sort of pin or wear or something that he didn't really care about, or he had two extra, and so
I could see that.
It would break, and so it had gorgeous enamel, stuff like that. If there was a toy that was in good quality that somehow made its way to our family and nobody noticed, and so I squirreled that away. And we used to go to the cathedral Sunday mornings in Australia. We would drive up the main street, go to mass at the little Tridentine chapel, and then we would all basically walk up to run around in the grass at the cathedral, top of the hill. And then when my parents weren't looking, we would duck inside and we would grab all of the little votive candles that had burned out, and they were just sitting there empty. And so we would take them, fold them all in so they turned into pirate doubloons. And you end up burning your hands with wax and stuff. Fold them all in, shove them into pockets. My mom,
why are these always here?
Why is there wax always in
wax
there?
all in the wash?
It doesn't wash out. Oh gosh!
Yeah.
So we'd come out with handfuls of doubloons, and then bring them home and have like these massive bags. And of course, it was like real money. We'd mess around with it, try to save it and store it and stuff.
That's fun. I like that.
So
speaking of books,
so there
really
you go.
quick.
Coins. Yes, I used to be a coin collector.
See, there we go.
Votive coins.
Well, speaking of, I was thinking of books quickly that I forgot about this. This is why you have to go and smell, taste, and get into books. I was at a book sale from an old a library. They were selling a bunch of books. And I bought one for 50 cents. It was an Agatha Christie book. And as I was going through, I was reading it, and inside a crisp $20 bill was in the middle of it. And I said, that's not an accident. Like, you don't use it as a bookmark unless you're like insanely rich and that's your bookmark. But like that's I was like
flex. Yeah. I'm reading on the subway, the metro. It's like,
ooh, I'll just use the 20.
I'm just gonna put it down next to me here.
The point is, go deep dive into book sales. You never know what you're gonna find. So coins.
That's funny. So the funny thing for me though is now, one, because when we moved to France for a year, everything went into boxes, and then we left a ton of things behind in Australia, left a ton of things in an attic at the school in France, and moved here with basically nothing. And then when I got married, that was also a moment where I walked away from everything that I had, and I didn't have much at that point, and left all of that behind again. And then now in the new house that we're in, 2.5 months ago, we took everything in our storage unit, threw it all in the landfill, or donated it all to Goodwill.
Sure.
So I'm chronically at a point now where, for better or for worse, I can't hold on to anything. I have no ability to like collect or store anything. So I think what's probably happened, and I haven't paid attention to it, over the last 10 years, it's all gone into my mind. That's where I collect stuff because it can't be taken away from me anymore. And it takes up less shelf space. Now, it means it's absolutely nuts in here.
That was insane in there.
For the weekend, I was talking with Chat, like, here's everything that I think I'm having to pay attention to. This massive
Chat just goes, whoa.
Well, honestly, I know Chat has confirmation bias, but it was like, at the end, Chat was like, that is an insane amount to be trying to process and hold on to. Like, and I'm like,
I'm not crying.
Thanks, Chat, you're crying. I know it's a bot, but like, it felt nice to be noticed on the inside out.
Dad? Hang on, Dad's busy.
So there's probably a whole question there about like, okay, so what are you storing now? It's like, I don't know. I haven't slowed down to pay attention, but
it's not a bad thing because I'm just making my next move that much more difficult collecting things. I thought about that. We got rid of so much, and I got rid of a lot of books, and I'm thinking to myself like, inevitably the next time we move, I'm just making that move all the more harder. So there is some virtue and good,
It is sad though that moving is like a defining metric for how you're able to.
I think there'll come a point
embody your existence.
Yeah, there'll come a point. This is my dream to be at a place where you don't think like, oh, get ready for the next move. Like that is the place. Like I love the idea of like my grandparents like living in the same place for 80 years. Like because you love it that much that you'd want to do that. Mm-hmm. Not because they've settled and they've given up. It's like no, you've made roots and you like it that much. So that's what I want. Like so when my grandfather passed away, he had all his old tools that kind of got dispersed among the children's and grandchildren. Like I want that. Like I don't want to just collect trash, but collect stuff that like when I pass on, like it is art my kids and grandkids would value it enough that they'd want to have it too.
That's the
kind of mindset I'm going to.
At this point, like I've got. What do I like? Literally have to my name stuff that I've bought for myself would be this, the laptop, maybe the microphone, and a bag of my clothes could all fit in basically a bag, and then everything else is in my smartphone. Now my wife's gone and purchased a whole lot more other things. She's got some nice shelves. She's got a nice, okay, fine. My desk here is, is also bought for me, but that's literally it. So there, if you were to walk in, it's like, let's, I don't know, like. How do I say? How does Dominic decorate his environment, communicate himself, through his lived experience? Like, there's nothing here. Must be not a lot going on. It's like,
no, you don't even know. You have no idea. That should be a hat.
Yeah, it's funny.
You have no idea what's going on in here.
Well, that's why I started that series on my personal blog. It's loud in here because it's like we're always talking, and it's
there's a lot going on.
I don't know. I think that I collect in my head anyway. I think I collect movies.
Mm-hmm. I could see that if you had like endless, I could see you collecting like old VHS tapes and DVDs and like having like a really
No,
big
it's
movie collection.
like me. It's now more meta than that. Actually, it's
No,
it's
but I
like
mean, like, if we
more
were to
stories.
tangible, if we were to like put physical properties that you collect, like I could see you collecting
Yeah.
movies, like having a big database of movies.
See, if I could, a dream that I have, I think, would be so. My wife gets so mad. Like, why do you always want to buy like little? I don't know if you can see this, like the Batman thing. Why do you always need
great.
like stuff, like all these like little things,
Neat
like you
stuff.
want to have on your desk,
Things, I like
And I'm
tchotchkes.
I love these, little things because each one of them, what I would almost want to have is like an item that concretizes an idea. Like I would love to have a conch shell. One, because they're beautiful, but two, because it's like the Fibonacci spiral and how that is a pattern that resonates throughout nature.
Yep.
There was other reasons for it. I can't remember. Oh, the growing complexity of how nature emerges and evolves and grows because it's being worked on from the outside by
Perfect.
superior intelligences and forces. Like all of that, which is an insane
represented.
2-hour conversation, is indicated in that one thing.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, cool beach find. It's like, no, this is a symbol. This is an icon of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Right. I think I would love to have books for sure. I'd love to have movie posters. I get so
Yes.
jealous when I see streamers and they're sitting in these not only gorgeous office environments. See, I'm too much of a designer to where it's like, I'll see some people have a beautiful streaming environment and behind them it looks beautiful. And then in front of them, it's like you're looking at something that's just a mess of wires and lights blasting in your face. And I'm like, no.
Yep.
Everything
No,
has to be
it's gotta be
beautiful everywhere
and
that
back.
just because I want my whole
Yeah.
environment to inspire me back, I would probably want to have all of my favorite fandoms as posters all over the walls. And so when you hit my stream, for example,
You see it. Yep.
it would be like dork. I don't know.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Funko Pops,
Like a dork
right?
cave.
It would be different. And it wouldn't be VHSs and vinyls, which is a different sort of thing.
Sure. I
It
do, yeah.
would be about, I think, all of the stories that really move me
Yeah.
and all of the figures
Yep.
and people and
I could
characters
see
in
that.
life,
Well,
And
books,
it would
books and,
probably-
and movie
yeah.
posters.
Yep.
Well, I remember in high school, one of my favorite purchases I got when I forget what's the first 007 Bond movie with Daniel Craig. I forget what it was called.
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
Anyways, I got the movie poster for
Before
it.
Casino Royale,
Yeah, Skyfall, or was it before Skyfall?
before Skyfall.
Whatever. I got the movie poster of like Daniel Craig and like it says 007, a big giant movie poster, and I had it in my room. I was like, this is like the coolest thing, and I don't know. So I do like movie posters, especially like, I don't know. It feels, I don't know what it is. I don't know. It just
Well,
felt
it's
like
because it's an icon,
cave. Yeah,
right?
Literally,
It
like
is
007.
an icon. Yes. Not just because I mean it's like a cultural icon. I mean the meaning of what an icon is. This is a secular version of that. This is what we on the outside of a church produce. This is like we were talking, I think, last week, right, about the idea of who comes first, chicken or the egg? Which comes first, church or the community? It's like, well, okay, technically it's a synergy, symbiosis, but technically, more technically, foundationally, the community is the thing that comes first. And that's why, for example, the Pope is always saying, we're here to serve the holy people of God. That is the point of all of this. Of this whole hierarchy and the institutions of liturgy and all of this is so that we are here to minister and mediate sacraments to the holy, faithful people of God who are trying to live out, not just trying, are living out their lives, who are instantiating the Holy Spirit, who are presenting Christ to each other, who are creating contexts for new lives to be introduced into this sandbox that is, our world and whatever, and figuring out their identities and leveling up into God. And the church is here to help midwife that process. So when we turn around and go, movie posters are the cheese guy, my guy, it's like, there's a reason why. And this is why until somebody proves me wrong, can convince me otherwise. We've joked about this: food and fun, faith, finance, family, festivals. And I don't know why they're all F's, but it just works. It's an effing big fun thing. This is our zone of genius that we don't and shouldn't be expecting to be getting from religious institutions in the church. It's not their place. No. Our place is epic movies and stories. And it's like, who are you in like 5 movies, 10 movies, That's always a fun conversation.
That is, man. But that I'd have to put some thought into that. Like thinking about it now, there's definitely movies that come to mind, but
Top three. What would you go? Let's round out with this question. I don't even know what my answers are yet.
Oh,
What would your
there's
top three be?
do you know
Hot
what
seat.
stinks? I have movies that come to mind right away, but I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I don't want those to be my movies because I think those are not like
I don't want
cool.
those on a desert island. I'm gonna. Yeah.
The things that come to mind immediately. Willy Wonka and
Don't
the
choose
Chocolate
the
Factory.
passion. Don't.
No,
okay,
it's not the
thank
passion.
you.
No. It won't be any faith based.
No God cards.
No God cards, whether fortunately or not fortunately. No, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's just one of my favorite movies of all time, and then probably we could dive into the nuances of why.
That's really
I don't
interesting.
know.
Let's come back and talk next week about why these movies. So keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, Charlie.
Willy Wonka, and gosh, see that's the thing. I have other movies that pop up, but they're just because I just talked about them recently. Do you want to go one for one? Do you have one that comes to
All
mind
right,
for
fine.
you?
Good call. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I loved The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise.
Okay, which I have not seen. Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. There's that one and Gladiator are like
Ooh.
toe to toe in my heart.
That's a big
but
one.
I think I love Last Samurai more. Maybe I don't know. Maybe because he lives. I don't know. But because you know what, I'll save the because for next week. So
Yes, there we go.
That is one that was probably the first movie I think I ever went to go see with a friend, and then spammed that soundtrack through most of my teenage years.
Nice.
So that has deep feels.
See, if this
for
is the
me.
top on your list, I definitely have to watch this. We've talked about many times over.
Yeah. All right. What's
have
what's
a
number
second.
2?
I have a two.
Okay.
Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr.,
Oh, really?
the Guy Ritchie one. Yes.
Nice.
That is a definitely way up. I mean, I'm looking at I have Sherlock Holmes, the complete. That is a big, fun part in
Yeah.
my mind. And the why we could get to another time, but yeah, that's a big one.
Nice.
The first
Yeah, I
one.
want to
The
ask
first or
about
second, but
that.
the first
I've
one.
only seen
Yeah.
that like once. That was good. Gosh, what would be a second one? It's funny. I would almost want Lord of the Rings in there, but at the same time, I wouldn't. I don't know how to talk about that one. That's a whole big
Yeah.
ball of wax.
Same.
It's just so massive and beautiful. Like I can't actually watch it anymore. I might put Batman Begins.
Ooh.
My mind, or that Batman trilogy, because it's technically all one story. There's a lot that I like to chew on in there. I think I might do that one. Noticing a trend here: dark, gritty, masculine figures in trouble. Okay, I said we'll get to that next week.
I don't have any issues.
I don't have any issue. What issues?
I do like. I think mine is like. I can see a trend. Mine's like the fun, adventure-y. But what's the? There's some humming around. But yeah, I don't know. This third one is a tricky one. There's all these like ones that pop up in mind like from childhood. Like literally, we talked about it the other week. Like Hercules.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I don't want to mention that one because I think there's one that would pop up more. But like the story of Hercules, as told in the Disney movie, is very good. Rings true to me, or connects with me, and like want to go the distance, want to belong somewhere. So that's always big. But man, I don't know. Do you have a third one that pops up closer?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide. Again, I don't know if these are like desert island picks, and I don't know if
Yeah.
they're my top 10 forever. Put these on
I
my
have
gravestone, but it's go ahead.
I have a second, but I think mine would be Castaway with Tom Hanks.
Okay.
The individualistic
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
It's been a while since I watched, but that one always pops up in my mind for some reason.
What was the second video again? You said it was
Willy Wonka,
Willy Wonka,
Sherlock Holmes,
Sherlock
and
Holmes.
Castaway. There's Game
Okay.
Show for you.
So there's a trend. I found your
Just twisted and
I
weird.
found your thread.
Yeah.
It's Wonka, Watson, and Wilson.
Oh, wow. There's the book. Forget it. All right, I'll go write my book now. See you later.
Yeah. Gosh, for me, now that I'm suddenly putting attention to it, my mind is like serving up stuff. There
I
were
know,
some
right?
movies that like seriously sucker punched me. I can't actually remember the name. I saw it once and my mind would not let it go. I think it was called 2222 or something. Hold on, I just see if I can find it. It was a
22,
movie. I don't remember I'd have to look it up again. I don't remember.
Okay.
Anyhow, it was a time travel sort of movie where a guy got stuck in a loop. Anyhow, it was a very
That's pretty
intense
cool.
kind of romance movie, not an action movie.
Gosh. Jeez.
But it was one of those that almost brought me to tears. And okay, gosh, actually talking of moving to tears. All right, actually scrap all of this. I'm going to go with A Monster Calls.
I remember when we talked about that a while back. That is a
Yeah.
big one.
That one, I've only watched it once. I don't know if I'd watch it again, but that one broke me. Now, I don't know if that necessarily means it's my top 10. But
I know.
I'm just going with like what comes to mind. Like, man, so that one, in terms of basically a little boy processing his trauma. Shut up, Gabe.
Yeah.
Processing his trauma. With the,
No relation.
no relation at all. The boy, so, oh my gosh. First movie, guy loses his community and his identity. Second one, guy loses his dad. Third one, guy loses his mom. Like,
No
that doesn't
theme,
mean-
no trend.
So there you go. That's me on a plate. On a positive one that's like going toe for toe for that is going to be the show All Creatures Great and Small, which is the new version, which is on Prime. Season 3 or 4 just landed or something. But that one that's the ideal sort of, this is the life I wish that I could lead. This is the life I'm leading on the inside of myself right now and how I'm treating and working with other people. And it's not about navigating with the trauma and stuff like that, but it is about the good life and what is it that you actually need to be able to live and survive and to thrive. What is that sort of bare minimum? What's that actual base level that actually is good for you versus what the world today tells you have to have so that you can function. But in terms of movies that really, really impacted me, those are top 3.
I'm sure there's more that if I really kind of pondered it and thought about, there's more. But like the ones that I chose, the ones that came to mind and always pop up and I enjoyed the most for whatever reason. I think because there's movies I've cried at, there's movies that I've that have been hysterically laughed at. But I think for whatever reason, those stand out as of right now with this thought. But I'm sure I could find the ones that really pull the heartstrings.
No, there's all kinds of reasons for
Yeah, there's different tracks to
why
go
we
off
love
of.
what we love. Yeah.
But,
all right. Well, yeah. So, friends, if you enjoyed this episode, hit like. If you didn't like it, don't tell anybody. Let's come back
Keep it to
next
yourself.
week. Give it to yourself. And by the way, how are you doing with your novel? Did you get any additional editing on?
No, today after work, I'm going to continue writing.
Of
that was
course you are.
We just
Yes.
talked about literally. It seems scripted, but this morning my wife goes, "How's the novel coming?" I'm like, "Okay." I was like,
Okay.
"Today after work, I'm going to do 30 minutes of editing and push for." So I'll have a
Good.
better update next week. But
Good. No, that's great. All right. Well, here we go. Another week, another episode. We'll be back next week. Friends, if any of this was kind of interesting or fun, you want us to come back and talk about something, let us know in the comments. Shout out to Gabby Battel. Not only do I work with her in the Saga brand
great.
project that I'm doing, but she's also in the comments and just
a cool person.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks, Gabby. And anybody else who's watching, if you've got suggestions or ideas, stuff for us to talk about, stuff that we got wrong, which I'm sure we did,
Gotta be something.
go ahead and let us know in the comments. We'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your week.